Hello, students. Very good evening. Am I audible and visible? Am I audible and visible? Can we start the session? So, I'm your biology educator, Dr. Meetu Bhavnani, and welcome to Vedantu Diksha Karnataka channel. Today, we are going to one shot breathing and exchange of gases chapter. Okay, am I live or not? I'm live. Okay, let's start. Oh, it's fine. NEET 2026. We are going to deal with the main revision points. Okay, 2026 uh one shot breathing and high solubility and exchange of gases. Now this chapter deals with the physiology, means breathing and exchange. Breathing means it is a physiology. The physiology, it is the physiology. Which type of physiology is which type of this physiology deals with intake of oxygen, utilization of oxygen by the cells of the body, and then release of carbon dioxide. Okay, so it deals with exchange of gases, that is O2 and CO2, and then utilization of by cells of the body. Now what this oxygen will do inside the cell? It will oxidize the absorbed food coming from small intestine by the procedure of digestion and absorption. That oxygen breaks down the food. That oxygen breaks down the food and fetches energy from it. So it is doing burning, breakdown of oxygen in the presence of oxygen, breakdown of food in the presence of oxygen, that is oxidation of food. Oxidation of to give energy to carry out metabolism. Carry out metabolism. Okay, done. Is it clear? So in this procedure, when the oxygen is breaking the food, oxygen is breaking the food, it energy received, and CO2 is also released out. Okay, this is a simple way to understand this. Now, so breathing is simple, inhalation and exhalation. Breathing is simple, Breathing is simple inhalation and exhalation. Inhalation and exhalation means take of oxygen and exit of CO2. Exit of CO2. Okay, done. So, and what do you mean by respiration? Here it is just conduction of gases. Involves just conduction of gases. Simple conduction of gases. While respiration is utilization of oxygen. Respiration is utilization of oxygen. Utilization of oxygen. Release CO2. Done. Now respiration is of two types. Respiration is of two types. What? Aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic means the oxidation of food, breaking of food occurs in complete presence of oxygen. While in anaerobic respiration, is also called as fermentation, breaking of food occurs the absence of oxygen, or we can say oxygen availability is there but lesser in comparison to aerobic. Of two, aerobic, anaerobic. Complete presence of oxygen, in complete presence of oxygen. Anaerobic, absence of oxygen. Okay, done. Now if we talk about the respiratory organs, now here in human there is human respiratory system. Respiratory system which is composed of organs. So here we can say, if we go from invertebrata to vertebrata, from simpler to complex organism, slowly and slowly respiratory organs develops. Like initially skin is there for allowing the exchange of gases, because first conduction, it is mandatory for the oxygen to reach inside the cell. When oxygen reaches inside the cell, then only the oxidation of food will occur. Cutaneous respiration, done. Then aquatic organism, gills, branchial respiration. Is it clear? Then lungs, terrestrial, and we also pulmonary respiration. Done. Now the human respiration composed of what type of organs? Let's write it down. First, external nostril. Second, external nostril, nose, which has a nasal passage. Third is internal nostrils. Then uh, pharynx, common passage for food and air. Fifth, pharynx, that here it is related to trachea, windpipe. Okay, windpipe. Then trachea divide into bronchus, left and right bronchus. Then bronchi, then bronchioles. Okay, bronchioles and lungs paired. Bronchus, bronchioles are also paired. Bronchus, bronchi, and bronchioles. Bronchus, bronchi, and bronchiole. Tube-like structures. Trachea give rise to further tube-like extension, a tree-like structure inside each and every lung. Right lung has, hi Surya Pratap, very very congratulations. Hi everyone. So if trachea is there, trachea is dividing itself. Trachea is bifurcating. Trachea is bifurcating. This is right ka bronchus. Bronchus mean tube-like structure guarded by C-shaped cartilaginous ring when collapsing. Prevent collapsing. Done. Prevent collapsing. Right bronchus, left bronchus. Now there will be lungs. Right lung has a notch known as cardiac notch. Is going to involve the apex part of the heart. Okay. Now this is now the bronchus is going to divide itself into many tube-like extensions. Bronchi. And finally, more further division. Bronchiole. Done. And finally, the bronchiole give rise to alveoli. Cluster of grape-like structure where actually exchange of gases takes place. This size of alveoli is equals to tennis court. Size of tennis. Okay. Done. So lungs are muscular sac-like structure, bag-like structure, which are accommodating tube-like structure which actually allow the conduction of gases, oxygen and CO2. And CO2. Okay. Finally, oxygen and CO2. Exchanging with what? Blood capillary. Because we have closed circulatory system, blood is flowing inside the vessels. Okay. And then with the tissues. And then with the tissues. So alveoli give oxygen to blood and blood will transport oxygen to each and every cell of the body. Now the cell utilizes the oxygen, oxidation of food will occur, CO2 will produce. CO2 again enters inside this blood, and blood again transport or exchange CO2 to alveoli. Alveoli will conduct the CO2 or exhale the CO2 outside from the body. Is it clear? Done. So we can say breathing is a physical process while respiration is a chemical process. Because in breathing is divided into two steps: inhalation, exhalation, which actually require contraction and relaxation of various kind of muscles like diaphragm muscle, phrenic muscle, ribs, intercostal muscles. The physical process. And respiration, chemical process. Is it clear? Clear to everyone? Here it involved muscular contraction and relaxation. Done. Which type of muscles will involve? Now, the respiratory system, lower part you will see diaphragm, sternum, ribs muscles, intercostal, external intercostal or internal intercostals, diaphragm muscles, phrenic muscles. Now, these muscles contraction and relaxation will actually change the volume of lungs, and volume is inversely proportional to pressure. So when the volume changes, pressure also changes. Then oxygen and CO2 will come to know where they have to move from higher pressure to lower partial pressure. Okay, got it? Here. So let's talk about breathing. Inspiration, active procedure, muscles contract. So ATP required. Here, what will happen? Diaphragm contracts. Diaphragm contracts. When diaphragm contracts, what it will do? The volume of that pulmonary volume, the volume inside the lungs will increase. Volume inside the lungs will increase. Now, let me show you. Active procedure here, first the contraction of muscles. Contraction of. Now, contraction of muscles. What type of muscles? Diaphragm contract. Diaphragm contract. Then what else? Uh, volume inside lungs. Now we very well know that volume is inversely proportional to pressure. Volume increases, pressure decreases. So pressure inside lungs decreases. Oxygen will flow from atmospheric high pressure to lungs low pressure. Okay. So from atmosphere, oxygen So inside lung. Here high partial pressure of oxygen, low partial pressure of oxygen. Okay. Now in exhalation, just reverse. Exhalation is just reverse. The muscles who are contracting, relax all the muscles. Relaxation. Relaxation of muscles. Volume decreases, pressure increases. So what will happen? From lungs, CO2 will, from lungs, CO2 will atmosphere. Done? Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear to everyone? What will happen next? What will happen next? Now, this is the conduction of gases occurs. Now, if gases are there in alveoli, how will they move inside the blood? Yeah, to the blood. All about partial pressure of gases. Partial pressure of gases. Okay. This is the site of exchange of gases. This is the site of exchange of gases. Okay. Alveoli. Alveoli are the site for exchange of gases. Okay. Now, this is the alveolar membrane. This is your basement membrane. And this is your blood capillary. Overall, is this membrane should be thin for easy diffusion of for easy diffusion of gases. For easy diffusion of gases. Okay, done. Now, if we consider the capacities and lung volume, the values are given in your book. We are not going to discuss it because these are just of cramming types. You have to learn it. We are not going to put so much logic. Now, what are they? What are the capacities and lung volumes? Now, capacities and lung volume like tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume, Tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, expiratory reserve volume. What else? Inspiratory capacity, expiratory capacity, residual volume, okay. Total lung capacity, vital capacity. Done? Okay, to everyone. Now, in blood, gases have come. Now, how to transport of oxygen? How it will occur? Either dissolve in plasma, 3%. 3% of oxygen dissolve in plasma and reaches to the tissues. But rest 97% of oxygen combines the hemoglobin, red color pigment of RBC, okay, and form a complex oxyglobin. Now this oxyhemoglobin complex, when hemoglobin has affinity for oxygen as well as hemoglobin dissociated the oxygen. Hemoglobin associates oxygen, okay, as well as associates with oxygen. Ties to oxyhemoglobin dissociation curve also, which show the affinity of oxygen towards hemoglobin. Okay. Now hemoglobin bind 4 molecules of oxygen at one time. Hemoglobin, if acting as a carrier, 4 molecules, means combination of oxygen plus hemoglobin showing greater affinity of hemoglobin towards oxygen. But when time to allow the oxygen enter inside the tissue, then the hemoglobin show dissociation with oxygen also. Done? Hemoglobin is a globular protein. Hemoglobin is a globular protein. Is it clear? Now, transport of CO, transport of CO2 occur the same way the plasma with the hemoglobin or with carbonic acid, the form of carbonic acid. Uh, Transport of CO2 dissolved in plasma, dissolved in plasma, combination hemoglobin, carb amino hemoglobin, carb amino hemoglobin, okay. And third one is as carbonic acid. No, as a bicarbonate, I'm sorry. Ions. Okay, done. Now, respiratory regulation. Respiratory regulation is the neural system, the most powerful system of my body, and it's controlling various other systems also. So, respiratory regulatory centers are located in medulla oblongata, and there is one pneumotaxic center which is located in pons. It is located in pons. Done. The neural regulation. The neurons of my brain, neurons of my body are actually controlling the respiratory rhythm, inhalation, exhalation. Respiratory rhythm. Done. We can do chemical control also, control of respiratory system by hormone, chemical regulation, chemicals situated in carotid bodies. Last but not the least, disorders. Disorders. First, asthma. When squeezing of bronchi, bronchioles are there. So there is some wheezing sound occurs when breathing occurring. Emphysema. What do you mean by emphysema? The persons who are chronic smokers, carbon particle deposited in alveoli decreases the gaseous exchange. And like asbestosis, in stone grinding industries, the fine powder of stone deposited inside the bronchi bronchioles create respiratory problems, occupational disorders. Okay, students, so this is all about this chapter. Thank you so